You have to be able to predict the future. You have to see, like, if you're in a game, we're all playing a game. This is all a game. It's a game of fitness, game of money, a game of spirituality, a game of, family, things like that. And, even with, like, all of that, let's say you wanted to get in a relationship with somebody, you have to play the game. Are you going to let yourself be a fat slob, or are you going to work out? Understand the system, and when you understand the system, you see what they're doing, why they're doing what they're doing. People always are like, "Oh, you have 9 kids, and that must be such a huge expense and a burden, and yada yada," and men are such freaking pussies now that they couldn't imagine having a large family. But who were the ones that benefited the most from that inflation check? Because you got per kid, you got a good amount of money. I made more money in each one of those checks than what somebody makes in a year, like at McDonald's. Just one, and that's just one. I got multiple. And then where did that go? It went straight to assets. It went straight to physical asset that I know is either going to go up in value, hold its value, or give me something. And every single one of those assets almost doubled in price if I were to get it now because of hyperinflation and inflation. Yeah, it's interesting that you see the lending becoming much more loose. It's very indicative of some hard times coming. And if you're not ready for it, you're going to get swept away. And if you are ready for it, you are going to do very, very well. So
there's still a way to take advantage of this situation.
The big guys do this on purpose because they know they can take advantage of the situation. This is all done purposely. It's not done. It's not. I mean, part of it's economic forces, but it's done purposely. It's done to give you. It's done to give them an advantage. It's done to give them the opportunity to, when everybody is losing their homes and you have yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, to me, part of it's the weak. There's a difference between, there's people who are completely ignorant, super nice. How's it going? Long time no see. There are people who are completely ignorant, nice. They want to do the right thing and everything like that. That's one thing. But then there are people who are just ignorant and lazy. They don't think. They think there's always going to be good times. This is why I harp so much on men too. They're very comfortable. They're doing their Netflix, their Hulu. They're spending 5 hours a day watching television. And I was there too. I'm not saying, but ultimately, those are the people who. I read fairy tales and different fables and stuff to my kids, and you always hear over and over again in different fairy tales and stories that you essentially reap what you sow. If you are being lazy like the grasshopper, the original story is so funny. Like you have these Disney type books or whatever with the ant and the grasshopper, and the ants are super hardworking. They're getting prepared for the winter because winter's always coming. When winter's coming, no matter what, figuratively and in reality, they're always preparing. They're storing food. They're working. They're doing, while the lazy grasshopper's just relaxing. In the newer children's books, the ants are like, "Oh, well, come on in, grasshopper. Here's some food. We did this. And you can take advantage of our kindness and everything." The old fairy tales, when people actually had to prepare for winter or they were going to die, the grasshopper died. Grasshopper was left out in the cold because they know, the ants knew, that we don't have enough food for you. We've done our part. We're not going to sacrifice literally everybody for because you failed to prepare. And that's where, those are the types of people, in my opinion, that are not innocent because they had ample opportunity to prepare. I mean, everybody does, but there are those people who know that they should be doing more. They feel, this is why I think a lot of men get depressed. They know they have more capability. They have more potential. And that's what leads them to drink. That's what it's doing for me. I knew I had more potential. When you first met me, very different person. I've always put up the video of me about 1.5 years ago. Like freaking full-on neck beard, just man boobies just like this. And even though I was making a decent amount of money, I was not acting to my full potential, and my body knew it, my mind knew it, and I self-destructed over and over and over and over again. And so, unfortunately, those are the types of people who make very good employees, and so that, corporate government is not going to want you to be anything different. So, anyway.
You're saying it's like 2006. I didn't know it was like you can state your.
Yeah. Oh man, when I started learning how to actually invest in stuff, and it would have been a gold mine, dude. It would have been absolutely amazing, because you could literally just state how much you were making. If I were to go back to 2006, knowing the 2007, 2008 crash was going to happen in the housing market, knowing what I know now, I wish I would have gone back to 2005, actually, and not gotten into a mortgage in the first place. Renting, it depends on everything depends on your situation. Okay, I have multiple mortgages right now. I have my primary home's all paid off. That goes into an LLC, trust, so on and so forth. The thing, though, is that these other mortgages, they bring me money. Actually, right now they're more of a pain in the butt, but they save me a lot of taxes we can talk about that later. But anyway, having a mortgage isn't bad. It's just when do you have a mortgage and what is it for? And back then, it's very similar to what's starting to happen now. Is lending becomes looser and looser and looser as the banks aren't able to lend, because right now the interest rates are going high, much higher. Mortgage transactions have dropped significantly, and they have to figure out, hey, how can we actually keep this, like the lending, going and stuff. So they're kind of becoming looser and looser, and they'll probably, I'm sort of hoping that the government will actually even say, hey, the legislature will say those things that we took away regulation-wise, we might bring them back and actually bring them back, which is possible. What I would do is I would let the crash happen, for one, because as it's happening, 2007, 2008, the housing market was top. As people were losing their home, you're still going to have houses are still as high as they're going to be. It's going to take some time for people to, as millions are literally losing their home, and new people are not able to buy those homes because of how they're losing their jobs, and the economy's going down, the 401k is going out the window and everything. People tend to then, when stuff like that happens, they tend to hoard their money and play it safe, which is fine. So then the markets are going to start going down. The $500,000 house that I had bought at that time went down at the lowest to 325, which is a lot less. So getting pretty close to 50%. The only reason it didn't, because it was in a really good neighborhood. The neighborhoods that were kind of crappy, they went down significantly. And so as it's going down, you can take advantage of the lending that is completely just, they did stated income, and so you could literally state how much you were making, take advantage of that as people were losing their homes. Go and do stated income, get into, they had 0% mortgages at the time that you can get into, interest only, all those, and then get into those, rent them out, start making money off of that, especially off the interest only. You can start cash flowing off of those, but knowing that at the no matter what, you're going to be making couple $100, couple $1,000 a month just off of the rent, and you're just because you can state income, you're able to gobble up as much as you want during that time until the regulations happen, and then you're done from that point. Cool thing too is that as that was all happening, that's when you started getting much lower interest rates. So then, 2-3 years later, refinance from a 5% interest rate down to a 3% interest rate, 3.5 or whatever, and now you're making more cash flow. Then you're saving taxes because you're a real estate investor, and so there's so many different things, dude, that you can do. But yeah, that's what I wish I would have done back then if I knew. But I didn't. I was the guy that got the super high mortgage, was barely making it every month. I had my Netflix. I didn't have Hulu, but I had Netflix, and at the time, that's when they would have they would send you the discs in the mail. I don't know if you Netflix. Oh, wow. Netflix has been around forever, but they would send you the discs in the mail, DVDs, and then you would play them, and then you'd send them back. Yeah, we actually had to have physical things, man. Yeah, that's crazy thinking that's
2005, 2006.
2000s. I want to say, was that 2005, 2006? Yeah, I think so. Like I've always said, you have to see that, you have to be able to predict the future. You have to see, if you're in a game, we're all playing a game. This is all a game. It's a game of fitness, a game of money, a game of spirituality, a game of, family, things like that. And, even with all of that, let's say you wanted to get in a relationship with somebody, you have to play the game. Are you going to let yourself be a fat slob, or are you going to work out and become attractive and stuff? That's all part of the game. When you play an actual GTA game, like Grand Theft Auto, or some kind of massive multiplayer online game or whatever, you have to raise up your stats. Yeah, you have to raise up your charisma, your strength, all these things. And never does anybody ever want to become worse. Oh, I want to be a flat slob that can't even kill a chicken in the game. I can't. I want to be, no. You want to be this big buff. Even if you're a magician, you're this most skilled magician or whatever, And that's the way it is in real life. So the more that you level up your skills, the more that you're going to see things coming. The more that you're going to take advantage of things, and when you don't, then you just get punched in the face, and then every now and then you're like, oh cool, I got a small check from the government, punch in the face, I got my paycheck, punch in the face. Whereas when you have the skills, you're bobbing, weaving, you're being aggressive, you're doing things that are going to have an impact in the future, and so on and so forth. So that's key to any. If you want to be successful, you have to start building up your skill set, which will allow you to start thinking of the future and seeing into the future. Like I look at the kind of the bigger names that are out there, and all of them in some fashion or another help people start. But at the same time, they also do content that's more advanced and so on. And so it'd be the people who are more on the beginner side, I would probably end up making either courses. I might even just sell my book or something like that I have. And that would pay for the advertising to bring them in. And then, yeah, as they grow, and you never know, it could be that they know somebody, which I've had before, where they started, but then they're like, they know somebody who would actually be a good client for, yeah. And so I think it's a better way of going, and it's a good way to build up the audience and authority and everything like that. And it's really the only way, because there's only so many business owners to talk about systems and stuff all the time. It's not going to build up that authority figure type, which it would, but only to a select few,